And we're live.
Is this the intro?
I don't know, mate. We got to come up with an intro somehow.
We've got to have something now, surely. We've been doing this so long now. We've got to have something. That'll do. You can do that every week. Happy days.
Mate, we'll have one day. But yeah, appreciate you guys jumping in. Let's start with a few hellos. Oh my god, Lee Simpson has been here. Lee Simpson's been here since 9:50 a.m.
Lee Simpson, you're late getting up, first of all. 9:50, that is true commitment. I love it.
That is amazing. But yeah, slightly early, mate, but we love that. Yeah, you started off with a question, but yeah, we'll get to the questions in a little bit. But RS, how you doing, mate? Nice to see you in.
Robin, good to see you.
Oh, is that who RS is, Robin?
Yeah, do you know what? It took me so long with RS to actually finally work out. Because in my head, I had it as Ruth for ages.
Yeah.
And it's a guy called Robin. And I was like, Ruth. So now I know it's Robin. Mad.
Yeah. AC Global, always in. Nice to see you, Andy. Random Reseller G. Afternoon, lads. Afternoon, mate.
Hello.
We've got JR's in. Afternoon, gents.
Yeah. Well done, James. Getting the boot sale video out. Good to see.
Yeah, we're all good, mate. Nice to see that as well. Getting the YouTube videos out. Cookie and the Haydens, afternoon.
Chris, good to see you.
Limelight. We got this has got to be our favourite name, isn't it? Look at that.
I was speaking to him earlier, Jack, in text group after the call. He asked me a few questions about today's clothing listing haul I done, and yeah, we're having a good chat. So he said he was going to pop in. So good to see you. Chuggles, what a name! Love it.
So good, isn't it? Yesterday Vibes Resells. Good afternoon.
Hello.
We got HB, and we got Neil.
Come on, Neil.
Mate.
Good to see you.
Yeah. All right. First of all, we've upgraded a little bit. We've got the Yeti on show.
We're the Yeti twins here. I'm going to hold mine up because I dare not move the camera.
I'm thinking every single week we've got, or at least I've got to have some sort of upgrade, whether it's StreamYard, whether it's viewing experience, whether it's equipment, everything like that. I'm going to try it every single week. I don't know how it's possible, but we're going to try it anyway.
Mate, you know the camera I spent so much money on, the old Sony vlogging camera that I've been using.
Can't you use that above your laptop?
Yeah, so there is a way. I'm going to, by next week, I'm going to have it set up. I can actually have this as the streaming camera. And mate, the quality is unbelievable on this. So you're going to get 4K of me next week. So yeah, that's my agreement. And by next week, I'm going to work out how to get this connected. Probably really simple, just probably plugging it in. But you know what tech's like.
But yeah, so this episode, basically what I wanted to do was start off with mini series. So this week, what I wanted to touch on first is sourcing. So what I want to do is basically break down all the ways that we get inventory, the ways that we get stock. So, and I thought, what better one to start off with? I want to go into say online, charity shops, and then basically some other ones that we can reel off with. Any that you guys are interested in, then we'll try and touch on it. But I want to break it down and then basically do that with another aspect of reselling as well, until we get basically a nice little playlist that you guys can go through and just basically touch on our experience, everyone else's experience, and just see where the chat goes. So this week is pretty much a reseller's paradise in car boots. Now, I think most people start off with car boots, but would you say that it's your main source at the minute? I mean, it's pretty much how you started as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really weird. Car boots has always been my source in the sense that I've always said car boots have got to go every single weekend without fail. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to grow the business. I haven't been to the car boot now for 2 weekends in a row. And it feels great. And I never thought I'd say this. It's actually nice on a Saturday and Sunday not to get up at stupid o'clock in the morning and go and, especially at this time of year, go and stand in a cold, wet, muddy field with all the other people scrambling around for the scraps at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning. But it is still, I would say, my main source of stock. But now with clothing, niching down to clothing, I would say at the moment, I'm probably 90% online is where I'm sourcing from. I had a good personal pickup last Friday for someone I met from the car boot sale and from watching the YouTube videos. Messaged me, local guy, went and brought 150 odd pieces from him, which is good. But yeah, I would still probably say boot sale for me is number one, and especially when it's peak car boot season. We're talking sort of May onwards, May probably till end of September. I would say that's prime where I get my stuff from.
Yeah, I think probably it's probably most people's main source though. I know it stops kind of November and December, but for the majority of that time, it's probably where most people go every single week. But when you first started, or even probably up until now, because it's part of your YouTube channel, you go to boot sales, you record it, everything like that. What would you say is your, or was your, and is now, like your strategy when it comes to car boots? When you go there, pretty much the majority of it that you can lay out in terms of times that you want to be getting there, stuff that you're going to be taking, cost of goods, goal, everything like that, and we can just break that down for everyone.
Yeah, so normally I like to have at least £200 in the wallet, and to a lot of people that sounds a lot, but I'd rather have more than less. I'd rather, if a deal of a lifetime does come up in a way, I've got the money to facilitate it, instead of having to have the awkward conversation with people. You know, do you mind if I do your bank transfer, or I'm just going to leave the boot sale and drive to a cash point. So I like to have more than I need, and normally I have some extra money stashed away in the van. I'm not going to tell you where, because people try and break into the van at the car boot, but what I like to do is, and for me it's probably changed a lot, because as an everything seller, it is literally that you are racing into the field. It's like go, all systems go, and then you're looking for anything and everything. And most of the time, I think a lot of us start with the stuff you've sold before. So if you've sold an item before, you know it makes good money, your eyes are automatically drawn to them. Most people, any games, any gold, any silver, any bronze, any this, any records, any that, I see them go from car to car. For me, I've never been that person. I never will be that person. But it has changed now with clothing, where I'm happy to not be first at the car boot sale. I'm happy to hang back a little bit, because what I'm finding is a lot of people, the last thing they get out is the clothing, because most people set up a rail of some sort. And so normally they put all the other stuff out on the floor first of all, and the clothing's last. So I quite like it at my Sunday car boot, where everyone races through the first 2 or 3 rows and gets to the new car setting up, and I just kind of hover back to say, do you know what? It's kind of free game in a way. Or there is other clothing resellers there. Apart from that, the things I like to prepare for the car boot. So this time of year, I've got my head torch, and although it looks stupid, it's super handy when you are searching around, because I've done the whole phone light thing. And actually, at least with it on my head, my hands are free to actually rummage, which is handy. The car boot trolley was a must as an everything seller, but I use it less now as a clothing seller, just because I feel I want to get in there a bit more with the IKEA bags. And yeah, apart from that, that's it, mate. You just got to go. You've got to be there. I believe you have got to be there for opening if you want to get the good stuff. If you rock up at a car boot sale after 2 or 3 hours, you're going to still be able to buy stuff. It's not going to be like the bangers that all the other resellers probably know about. And that's my strategy, really. You've got to be there. You've got to get stuck in. Got to be polite to other people around you, and be polite to the sellers. That has gotten me a long way, and that has also created me future deals with people, just by the please and thank yous, just being kind, just being nice, and kind of telling them what you do. You know, if I buy a big bundle of stuff, I will say to them afterwards, you know, do you have anything else like this? And they'll ask me more questions, and I'll tell them I'm a reseller and this is what I do as a full-time job. And normally with YouTube, it makes it easy because you've got a big camera strapped to you. So a lot of people see the camera and they ask you about that as well. So yeah, that's my strategy, really. People do it in different ways. I see resellers down there who will open people's cars and jump in the boot. It's just not me. What about you?
Yeah.
Because you don't go to as many car boot sales as me. So what's your strategy when you go there?
Yeah, I want to touch on what before us. It's not like I've completely stopped. It's just that the sourcing goal that I've got, the listing goal, it's like it doesn't require me to go on the weekends now. So I don't necessarily need the stock unless I want to build up a buffer, unless I want to build up that queue. My idea is to get to like maybe like a 2-week queue and then a 2-week draft bank. So I'm pretty much covered in all areas. But I want to touch on when I first started up until about, I've been doing this for probably nearly 2 years now. So probably the first, I would say maybe year, I was doing car boots. So touch on that aspect. So my approach was to basically, if it started at 7, if it started at 5, anything like that, I would be kind of around half an hour, 45 minutes before that time. So obviously it's a killer if you're going to London, and you guys will know about that. I mean, what's that? That's like 4:30 start. Jesus Christ, it's crazy. So yeah, before I found out about the trolley and IKEA bag hack, oh my God, that is my favorite. I was literally just lugging around Tesco bags when I went there, which was like, mate, that was not a good strategy at all. But I didn't know any better. So if they said it starts at 7, I'd get there around 7. But then a lot of the times I was rocking up and there was a gigantic queue. Yeah. And then I'd get this huge FOMO where I'd see every single person run into the first maybe 1 or 2 rows, and I'd think, God, I've missed out on so much. But then, like you said, when I kind of was approaching the niching down aspect, and when I did get kind of like fully niched into clothing, just like you, I wasn't as worried. When I was everything, I was panicking about everything going. But whereas when it was kind of clothing and when you niche down and when I was building up that knowledge, not necessarily that I would go any later or anything like that, but people would just leave the stuff that I was going for. Yeah. So it wasn't the Nerf guns, it wasn't the video games, it wasn't the gaming consoles, anything like that. When I kind of got niched down, I wasn't even looking at any of that, and I was purely focused, just like what you said, rails and clothing on tarpaulin on the floor, and tarpaulin ones that are on the floor. Oh my God, you get the best deals. But yeah, so I would be getting there as early as possible. I would then be taking my trolley, which I got from Amazon, and I think that was about, I don't know how much they are now, but I think I paid about between 70 and 80, something like that.
Was about 70 quid. Or about, I mean, you can get them cheaper in the supermarkets, but yeah, I paid 70 quid off Amazon.
Yeah, so it was around about that, and then I would take that, and yeah, I would just pretty much start from the start. I wasn't, like you said, one of those people where I would be rushing to every single car that pulls up and then just be diving in their boot. It was nothing like that. Just like what you said, it was just like good karma, just being nice to people, being courteous, and then just asking, yeah, just how much is your stuff really. But yeah, I didn't necessarily go with any sort of budget. Just like what you said, I would take between kind of £100 and £300, something like that. And then I had this thing in my head where even when I went from everything to clothing, I didn't want to spend more than £3 an item. And I don't know what it was. Yeah. It was really, really weird. It was just that figure. If someone said, even if it was like a jacket, or even when I was an everything seller, gaming consoles or anything like that, I was like, I can't spend more than £3. I don't know what it was. So yeah, when I kind of got over that, yeah, it was more so looking at the bundles on the floors and stuff like that. And then rather than saying like, how much is your Ralph Lauren jacket or anything like that, I wouldn't want them to, not that I wouldn't want them to know the brand, but I would just be like, how much are your jackets, or how much are your t-shirts? And then from that point, a lot of people will go, oh, well, what brand is it? Or what jacket is it? Then obviously turn it around. And then if they see it's Ralph or Fred Perry or North Face or something like that, usually they go, oh, well, that's a North Face. That's a puffer. You know, that's this amount. But yeah, just trying to bundle and then going for the individual stuff as well. But yeah, like I would just try and get as much stuff as possible. And then I would always try and get like 2 or 3 car boots in. I don't know about you. Did you have some in close proximity to each other where you could dot from car boot to car boot?
Yeah, so on a Saturday, I've got the potential to do 2. So on a Saturday, I can get to one about 6 o'clock, and the other one officially it opens at 7:30 for the early birds, the other one. But I can normally get there for 8:30 when it opens to the general public. So sometimes I will go and do 2 on Saturday. Sunday, I could again do 2. One of them is like the A3 is super early in the morning, a bit like Dunton, not as early, maybe around 4:30 you need to be there. And then the Walton one, normally around 6:30, 7 o'clock. So I can go to 2. And what I will say, if you can go to 2, don't feel like if you go to the second one, you're not going to get some good stuff. There's been many a times I've turned up at the Walton one. And look, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember when I got them 2 racing jackets, the orange one and the white one? And they were both sitting there, 30 quid for the pair. And that was my second car boot after it'd been open for about 2.5 hours. So you've got to remember, not everyone knows everything, and not everyone does what you are doing as well. So when it comes to clothing, for me, I know there's lots of clothing sellers, but lots of the everything sellers don't really deal with clothing, similar to what I've done before. So there's always opportunities to go to another car boot sale and still do really well at that car boot sale. Do you haggle a lot at the car boot? Because like you said earlier about the whole £3 thing, I have it in my head and it's really strange. And I've got another question for you afterwards. When I buy it online, I don't mind spending £10, £15 on a jacket, knowing I'm going to get, 60, 70, 80 quid for it. At a car boot sale, if I pick up a jacket and someone says it's 20 quid and I know I'm going to get 80, I struggle to hand over 20 quid, where I guess the question goes with haggling. Do you think if boot sales ever become cashless and everyone had card machines and it was just a case you tap your card to pay, do you
Dangerous.
think you would end up spending more money? Because like with anything, you know what it's like when you pay on card, you don't feel the cash leaving your wallet. Do you think it would end up that way? And yeah, sort of two questions in one there really. How much do you haggle? And do you think you struggle less spending money online, and why do you think that is?
It's like tapping your card when you go anywhere. It's just you physically don't see that money going out. So it's like there's no pain. Like when I'm at a car boot and when I'm handing over, say, like a 10, 20 pound note, it hurts. So yeah. With haggling, I'll pretty much always haggle. So say like even if they're asking, say like, you know, £2 an item and I'm like bundling like 3 or 4, I'll be like, you know, can we do this for a £5? And yeah, just little things like that. But yeah, I will always try to. I feel like it's in my nature when I'm there to, yeah, definitely haggle. But online, God, you spend an absolute ton and you don't even think about it. But yeah, it's different. And then what was the second one, mate?
No, I think it was the two questions. So the haggling part. So if someone's saying it's a quid, are you the 50p kind of person? Or if it's 50p, you're the 20p person?
If there's
is it more for a bundle? For instance, if say, like you said, £2 a piece and you've got 20 items, you're going to try and get it for 10 or 15. Is that kind of thing?
I mean, I think there's being reasonable as well. I mean, if you're picking up something for £1 and then there's a solid 10, £15 profit in there and it hits your margins, then like it's fair. Like it's complete. Yeah, just play the money. I mean, I think when it gets to that point, yeah, there's just I think there's a mark there. So for me, there's no need to kind of go that far. But for some people, like it don't matter what they say. It's like because in this country we love a bargain as well. So it's like whatever they say, you feel like you have to get a little bit of something off. So yeah, to me, when it's as low as that and there's enough in it, and yeah, for me, I'm not going any further than that. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, I don't haggle probably anywhere near as much as I should. And some of the comments I get on my channel is that you need to haggle more. Why aren't you haggling? Why aren't you haggling? But then I've seen other YouTubers who haggle like well, in the sense of £2 when you take £1, just get nothing but abuse. So I'm kind of like, do you know what? If it's a fair price and I'm going to make some good money, like I'm happy to pay the price. If someone asks £3 and I know I'm going to go home and sell it tomorrow for 35, I'm happy to pay them £3, like no issue. But I think I used to haggle more as an everything seller. Because it was then one-off purchases. I think you're right with clothing, you can kind of just bundle stuff up and normally you get a better price naturally. But as an everything seller, yeah, I probably used to haggle a lot more. You know, a £5 we do £3, we do £2, a tenner we would do 5. You know, I find it more difficult with clothing, but again, that might come in time and probably the more confident I get with clothing.
Yeah, 100%. And then what would you say as well? Just like actually bringing it back to, because you did a I don't know whether it was a vlog or like a series, but it was the Car Boot Roadshow. So you've been to quite a few. Would you say that kind of going is like biggest really the best? Like you went to Dunton and you see the size of that. I don't know if there's one any bigger than that. Or like, would you say sticking to the closest to you? What would you say?
Yeah, so the Car Boot Roadshow was great, but I had to kind of take into account all of the travel involved in the cost of goods in a way. Yeah, it's good putting out on YouTube and you make some money back on it for YouTube. But yeah, I think if you can find a boot sale local to you, it's the way to go. Dunton's great. And, you know, I know we spoke about it next season. We're going to try and go to Dunton a bit more. Hopefully we can commit to kind of 2 or 3 times at least over the summer. But for me, that's such a long journey in the grand scheme of things. And it's not just getting there, it's getting home. And the first time I went to Dunton where I first met you, and we done really well. We had a coffee at the end and we were saying about how good it is and how well we done. The second time I went to Dunton, I hardly got anything. So I think it is very much a luck of the draw, regardless of any car boot sale. I've been to some car boot sales before with 2 or 3 rows and ended up getting more items than when I've gone to a boot sale with, 60 rows. So it is very much like a draw. It depends what you are looking for as well. It depends what your sort of goal is. But I think for me, a thing that can't be taken for granted is your mentality when going to the car boot sale. So what I do now on the way to a car boot sale, I listen to like podcasts, like an inspirational podcast, or I'll put on a daily refinement call or a tech podcast, whatever it may be, simply to get me into the zone of like positive reselling mindset. And it doesn't have to be a reselling podcast, just a positive mindset podcast. Because I find sometimes on a Saturday morning at 6 o'clock, when it's starting to split a bit, you're shivering, you're feeling like, well, do you know what? It's not going to be good today. If you have that mindset, you're not going to pick up the good stuff. So I try and go into that car boot sale field with the positive mindset of saying, do you know what? It's going to be good. But on the flip side, another thing I will say, some of the best car boot sales I've been to are the ones where I've walked away with nothing. And it's okay to go to a car boot sale and not buy for the sake of buying, because I've done it before. I've brought because I'm like, do you know, I need to buy something to come all this way. They're the biggest mistakes you're going to make. So sometimes just say, do you know what? Today didn't work out. We've got tomorrow. We've got next weekend. We've got the weekend after. If there's nothing there for you, walk away and save your money. That would be my recommendation on that.
Yeah, I think definitely if you're not hitting the metrics, I don't see the point. Like, I don't want trash in my store at all now. But the thing is, when I first found out, or like the algorithm favors daily listings, I was like, right, I have to put at least at the time, whether it's 5 a day, 10 a day, 15 a day. I was like, I've got to put that in to basically to the detriment of like them being quality items. And yeah, for me now, if I was going to car boots, because unless your knowledge is insanely vast, that whenever you rock up at a car boot, you're going to find stuff, because there's so many times when you can rock up and there's just not that many, whether there's not that many sellers there or the niche that you're in, you know, there's just not that many items, then you might not find it. So walking away, yeah, definitely a lot better than just spending money on crap, really. So yeah, I get what you mean completely.
And I think for anyone watching this who is new, and even if you are seasoned as well, don't beat yourself up if you do that. Don't beat yourself up if you do make mistakes at the car boot sale. I've made many, and I will continue to make many. I mean, even talking about the clothing side now, the amount of stuff I brought home that's either fake, because in the rush of the car boot you don't do your checks, or zips broken, or big hole in it, or stained. So don't beat yourself up too much. Take calculated risks. If someone's asking £20 for a jacket or £10 for a jacket, you make sure you take the time to look over it completely. If it's £2 and you make a mistake, £2 down the drain, not going to kill you.
Yeah, I think if you've got time, if you know you've got time, then comp check in, maybe not too much of an issue. But that's, I think, what I believe in. I feel like what you believe in as well is trying to do as much research prior to you go into charity shops, you go into car boot sales, anything like that, so that you've got enough knowledge to just preload that knowledge. So then when you go there, you're not mucking about with anything like that, because you might be standing there hovering over with your phone, unless you've got it physically in your hand, which is what a lot of people do. I don't know if you can get away with that all the time, but someone could literally just underneath you just swoop it, done, and then you look it up and it's, you know, £50 profit, £100 profit, and you're going to be kicking yourself. So that's why I like doing as much research as you can, like throughout the week, on the weekend, anything like that, even like 10 minutes a day. You're gonna build up enough knowledge. That's if you want to niche down. If you're everything seller, then getting that knowledge in is going to be a little bit harder. But yeah, I'm going to jump over to some questions, just because I know a few of you guys have got a few questions in here, so hopefully we can get to answering a little bit before. So AC Global mentioned before, I rarely go to car boots, started at charity shops, then integrated, vinted, and then wholesale. Whoa, he's getting about. Also got my first consignment deal to see how that does as well. So yeah, Andy's been busy.
Yeah, Andy got the consignment deal with the guy. I remember Andy speaking about that on our Instagram. The guy from, we thought at the time it was in Mexico and he's having it shipped over or something.
Yeah.
Like, no, the guy, no. So anyway, he's got his consignment deal, which is great. Charity shops. I mean, I know we're going to go down that whole sourcing route, and we can talk about these in weeks to come and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting that, you know, rarely goes to car boot sales, where to most people, car boot sales are always top of the list.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Chuggles. So the guys who ask any football shirts and just move on to the next stall, leaving behind £100 Gore-Tex jacket, are baffling to me. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. You could be so niche that you go to car boot sales and you're just looking for football tops. You're just looking for old, modern, anything like that, and that's all you know and all you want to sell. So fair enough. But yeah, stuff like that, like even just getting basic knowledge on outdoor jackets, especially Gore-Tex jackets as well. Yeah, stuff like that, there's a lot of profit laying there. So
what he's saying there, what Jack's saying there about the people who are asking the stall holders and just moving on, it can feel disheartening sometimes. If you are a gaming reseller, for instance, that's the best example I can use of this, and you've just started reselling, you go to your first car boot, and you have Joe Blogs who's been going to this car boot for 5 years, going to every car, any game and any game and any game and any game and any game, and you're behind him, you're thinking, I'm not going to get anything, because if they've got gaming, they're going to give it to this guy. You'll be surprised the amount of sellers who will say no, nothing, because they don't want this person hovering, and they know he's a reseller. So sometimes just sitting back a little bit, and I've done it before. There's a guy who goes around our Saturday one any gaming. Woman said no. Next thing, she puts out a Game Boy on the table. So I'm like, how much is £2? And I make sure I go up to him, and he's like, oh, what have you got today? I said, oh, just this Game Boy. Where'd you get that from? Oh, that stall down there. But I had it the other day with the Olympus Mute camera. Holding back a little bit can sometimes play an advantage to you. So yeah, what you're saying there, Jack's right. Any football shirts people have moved on, and you're picking up £100 Gore-Tex jacket. So
yeah. I used to know a seller from Dunton who left his house at 1 a.m. to be near the front row. That is ridiculous. I mean, when we went there, and I've only been there once actually.
I left at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it was about 3:30 for me as well, and it's only 45 minutes down the road. But yes, it's nuts. So I can't imagine what time people actually get there to start setting up. Because when we got there were so many stalls, and this was
4 in the morning.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, stupid.
Yeah, it's mad. Gaming Arms, I always wonder what time those bloody front row Dunton sellers get there. Yeah, madness. But they got prime spot, so hats off to them. And Andy, I had a irrational plan of only paying a certain amount as well, but now I have an average profit per item target, and I'm willing to pay up for good clothing. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. If I was to go back there now, it's like I'm looking at how much profit am I going to be getting for this item. So I'd be willing, if an item was going for, even if say if I could get a resale of £100, I'm willing to pay up, £40-50 for that. So yeah, definitely it would change if I was to go back. But is that how you kind of approach it then, James?
Yeah, what I've always done as an everything seller in a way is, and same with what I'm going to be doing with clothing, because I'm sort of classing the end of this season. I was finally niching down. Next season is going to be my full season as a clothing reseller. And I always look at items, and I do the same clothing. I look at that one item that's going to pay for the lot. So as an everything seller, I mean, if we talk about the Nerf gun hauls, I used to count them up and say, right, I'm getting, 100 Nerf guns here, and I'm paying £250. So each Nerf gun effectively is costing me £2.50 a piece. But I know them 5 there are going to pay me back my money alone. So everything else is a win. And so I think if you are, especially an everything seller, you can do this more so. When you go to a stall, look at that one item where you're going to make £60-70 profit, and know that's a guaranteed profit. And then you can buy other stuff, and you might be able to pay up a little bit because your profit's safe as well. But again, don't just buy it for the sake of it. You're better to buy the one item with that top profit compared to kind of buying these other items for the sake of it, just to make it look like you brought more stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I looking at the average of it as well. So say if I was looking at a bundle on the floor and I see, even if they were slightly filler items, but they're going to bring the overall cost of it down quite a bit, but then there's one banger in there that's going to make it really, really worth it, then I'll do that. So yeah, looking at the average is a lot better. But over a season, haggling will save you hundreds. It will absolutely, hundreds of pounds a season. Yeah. I mean, when you look at it like that, I mean, I'm not going to go as far as £1 into 50p, but when you go a couple of quids, stuff like that over the course of a season, absolutely, it's going to save you so much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, dig vintage, call it negotiation rather than haggling is more acceptable. Then it sounds a lot nicer, doesn't it?
Yeah, the term haggling is that market stall mentality, but that's what a boot sale is, isn't it? Effectively, you are going there, but yeah, I like the negotiation term.
Yeah. Lucy, do you think car boots are seasonal in the sense of more sellers being there at certain times of the year? You'll probably have a lot more experiences of this with me. I mean, I've been to probably 2 or 3, maybe 2 seasons worth of car boots, so don't have a great deal of experience. But do you think you'd have noticed it over the last couple of weeks probably. Do you think it's dying down a lot? Is there more room for, is it better for buyers or is it better for sellers at the minute? Because you're still going to get a lot of resellers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, I noticed the last car boot sale I went to on my Sunday one, and it's actually finished now. The Sunday one I go to. I remember saying to you, like, I should have stayed in bed because there was like three or four rows. The ground was caked in mud. And you've got to think, although us as resellers, you know, we're happy to get up, it's our job. We've got to go. We've got to put ourselves there. Do the general public have to put themselves there when in a couple of hours' time it's going to absolutely piss down with rain? Are they really going to load up their car or van full of stuff to come and stand in a muddy, cold field for a couple of hours where it rains again? Probably not. So now when I think about whether I should go to the car boot sale, I'm now putting myself in the seller's shoes, thinking if I was selling as a general public member, would today's weather be enough for me to get out of bed and go to a car boot sale at stupid o'clock in the morning? If the answer is no, I'd rather not go. And that's where my mentality changed. Where beforehand, honestly, I will go to the Saturday one. And I remember it was the week before Christmas. I remember driving there and it was snowing. Snow had set on the ground. They were like, the ground's fine, it's hard, blah, blah, blah. I turned up, there was 3 stalls. I got out of the van, walked to the 3 stalls, got back in the van and went home. And so kind of think to yourself, it's okay for me to want to commit and go, but will the general public commit and go? And that's where you need to get to. So yeah, it's 100% seasonal. And that also goes, Luke, if it's really hot, a lot of people think when it's scorching, you know, that summer when it was like 38 degrees we had a couple of summers ago, when it's that hot, you kind of think this is going to be the best car boot sale. That also puts people off because people would rather sit in the garden, have a barbecue, have a few drinks, compared to standing in a boot sale field sweating their arse off. So you kind of need to look at the weather for both sides of the coin, I would say. But yeah, it definitely does depend.
Yeah, putting yourself in their perspective, like, are they going to get out of bed and do this on it's absolutely hammering it down, it's cold, everything like that. Thing is, we need the stuff like we're going out there. You're going to see a lot of resellers out there, hoods up, torches on, everything like that. They're ready to go. Trolleys, IKEA bags at the ready.
Yeah,
they're there. But yeah, the sellers, maybe not so. But let's get to a couple more of you guys' questions as well. And I'm going to move on to the just a few other aspects as well afterwards. Alexander Burnt, hey both. Used to be in the daily refinement, still watching along. Hope it's all going well. Yeah, it's going really well, mate.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, really well. And we got Donna. Buying online has really taken the FOMO out of car boots for me. My heart used to race thinking of everything I was missing. Yes. I feel like I can enjoy them again as I only buy things that fit my metrics. Wow. Yeah, that's I used to feel like that. I mean, when I was just purely car boots, I mean, I used to leap out of bed and I used to be like on the road. I was so excited. I was getting in there and I was like, right, I've got to get to the front. I've got to sprint. I've got to get around. I've got to talk to as many people as possible. Yeah. And yeah, when you move, not to say that I'm probably like maybe 50-50 online and then with private source as well at the minute. So I definitely agree. It does take that out. But when we kind of go into like online selling and stuff like that as well, you do have to be very, very quick at the same time as well. So, but yeah, it definitely takes that. Yeah. Would you say it takes the FOMO out a little bit more?
I was going to say Donna's paragraph there sums up exactly how I feel, how I have felt the last couple of weekends. I used to be that. I used to be a case of sometimes, honestly, it get to a Friday evening and I say, do you know what? I'm not going to go to the car boot. I'm going to have a lie-in. And then I would wake up and I'm going to the car boot because I don't want someone else to do it. And the amount of messages I get from other resellers when I don't go to the car boot of saying, oh, you should have come. It was really good today. Or look what I got. Look what you missed out on. And that FOMO is definitely there. And I think the FOMO was more there as an everything seller to a clothing seller in a weird way, because you could find that £1 into £300 item, like quite a lot of the car boots. But yeah, you're right. I would rather now, and I did this weekend, woke up on a Saturday morning, still the same time, come down here, done some work, and then spent the rest of the day on my phone online sourcing. So yeah, I feel like I'm not missing out.
Yeah, from a cost of goods perspective, I don't think it really can be beaten. I mean, I don't think I'll find stuff as cheap as I will at a car boot. So in terms of that aspect, but like comfort of your own home and then like, you know, you're doing some research beforehand if you want to, like online, I absolutely love it. But yeah, we're trying to strictly kind of stick to car boots at the minute, but just taking it back a little bit for anyone who's like new to car boots, everything like that, just from a basic perspective of finding car boots in the local area. How did you start with that? Did you just jump straight to Google, like, or did you just word of mouth from people in the community?
Yeah, I saw Kim ask that question as well. Any car boots we can recommend as well. So this is the joy of us doing this on YouTube here, because if I just do this here, Luke, if you can, actually, I need to share my screen, don't I? If I can share my screen, I can show people how I quickly done it, and it's this simple. Right, there we are. Can you share me in?
Add to stage. There we go. Look at that
so,
transition.
See the Google Maps? So everyone now has to go into Google Maps, and literally I will just type in car boot sale, and this is how I've done it for the roadshow. So you can scroll right the way out and you can move across. And then say I was down in Exeter for a weekend, you click on this part up here, search this area, and there we are. That shows me all the car boot, not all the car boot sales, some might not be on maps, but this shows you the majority of car boot sales. And then on the left-hand side here, or even when you click on it, it gives you more information, gives you the website if you want to go onto the website. But on this left-hand side here, it actually tells you information about the car boot. And some will have hours and websites and stuff. It tells you when it opens as well. I mean, this one here in Exeter opens at 1 p.m. on Sundays. So this is a great way for you, regardless of where you are in the UK, to actually search for car boot sales in your area. And this works all over the UK. So even up in, Sheffield area. Shows you.
Yeah, I think what everyone needs to be a little bit mindful of as well is when James hovers over and then clicks on each individual, they're called GMB, so Google My Business. So what that will do is that will spring up the business, in this case, the car boot sale. A lot of, say, companies that run them, they don't actually update them as well. So if you want to cross-reference that with Facebook pages, so whether there's got a Facebook page for that specific car boot, a lot of the times they'll update that more than they will say their Google My Business, and the times might be different. Any updates for whether they're actually going to be on or not because of the weather. And then also as well, what was the other thing I was going to touch on as well? Yeah, and then there may be Facebook pages just for areas, so car boot sales in Essex, car boot sales in any county. So that also happens as well, and then they'll have information on that for the specific car boots within those counties. So yeah, just wanted to touch on that. If anyone was to ask, where would we find these sort of car boots? But there was also another thing as well, and it is Nick Hills. So he created an app, didn't he? I'm not sure if that's in the beta stage or the
Let me share it up,
because I'm still yet to look at this as well. I'm really intrigued. I know this is for different aspects, to say jumble sales and things like that, I think.
So if you can share me back in, I will go on to it here.
Oh, here we go.
This is great, and we love Nick, and Nick has spent a lot of time putting this together. The app is called Thrift Map, is what it's called, and Nick actually has a dedicated Facebook page where they're talking about the updates, etc., etc. Now it is live on Android, and I think they're at the final stages of getting it live for Apple. But all you've got to do, again, on Google, typed in Thrift Map, and there we are. It's on the Play Store, and it's a free to download app, and it's got jumbles, so jumble sales and jumble trails, charity shops, and boot sales. This is a game changer. So once it's available for Apple, this is what I will be using myself. And similar to what it does, it draws in the information from Google. And as you can see, this is all the car boot sales where it's giving you some examples and stuff. But just remember, it's work in progress. Join the Facebook group and help Nick with feedback if you download it and it crashes or whatever it may be. But this relies on us and other people updating it. Like Luke saying, if you turn up at a car boot sale that's on the map and you turn up and there's a big sign saying it's closed down, you need to report it's closed down so it can be removed off the map, etc. So it takes us as resellers as well as the general public to make sure the information's up to date. But yeah, that's another way you can find it. So get that downloaded.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea. Just putting all the kind of sourcing ways into one app, and then just having you GoToPlace really, and then obviously everyone working together, it can be the most up-to-date piece of equipment as possible. But I just thought I'd touch on that as well because I haven't actually seen it myself, so I can't wait for that to come out on the iPhone.
I think it's around the corner on iPhone as well, so we're talking I don't know when, but it's soon.
So just going to go back on a few questions as well. So Kimberly, hi guys, any winter car boots you recommend? I really wanted to touch on hard standing and indoor car boots. So yeah, I actually don't have any experience going to kind of like hard standing, any winter car boots, but I love the sound of like a gigantic haul where it's just like car boots all year round, or just purely for the winter months. Like I don't know where that would be, but I just love the sound of it.
Yeah, obviously it depends on where your area is, but again, just jump onto Google and just do a Google search indoor car boots near me, and it'll bring them up. And you just have to do a little bit of digging, word of mouth, speak to other resellers in the area. You know, where are they going? And there is one which is running at the moment monthly, but they are thinking about running it weekly over the winter months, and that is hard standing in like an underground car park, so it's covered as well. So yeah, that could be an opportunity for me. But yeah, speak to other people in your area, Kim. So I don't know where you are.
Alexander Byrne, what's the furthest you're willing to travel for a car boot?
I went to Scotland. If that
yeah, you did, didn't you?
which is like 8 hours.
Was that indoor, that one?
Yeah, that was in like it was like it looked like a fish market kind of thing. If you can imagine what a fish market is, it'd be like that. And the other one was outdoor, and it had an indoor section. So yeah, how far would I travel? I'd be happy to travel an hour each way. I would say hour and a half, maybe a push. Depends. Like Dunton, I'm happy to travel because it's huge. But yeah, normally within an hour.
Yeah, I'd probably go an hour as well. So I mean, Dunton's probably the furthest I would go, and that's like 45, 50 minutes. But I mean, if it was another 45 minutes on top of that to go to, if not the biggest car boot in the country, I'd probably consider it as well. So yeah, I'd probably maximum probably just under 2 hours maybe if it was worth it.
Yeah,
but then you might rock up and it might not be. But yeah, Benji, do you think filler items are worth it, or if you only find 5 items that fit the metric, you only list 5, even if your target is 10?
We've been having this conversation recently, and I spoke to Tech about this morning, or this afternoon, should I say. This morning I'd done 100 sets of photos for clothing, and even before I came on, I said to Luke it was a real eye-opener to me how much filler was going into my store, and would I be better off listing say half of that or even 25% of that, hitting my higher metrics? The answer is yes overall. And I needed to kind of do this today to sort of click in my own mind. So personally for me, don't just put stuff in the store for the sake of it, just to hit that metric number. That's the key. I think the whole thing about listing numbers is all about driving consistency. But I'd rather list 5 items that fit the metrics compared to 5 that fit, and then 5 you're just doing just to hit a metric number. Because then 5 items are just going to take up room in your store. And once you hit a certain level, you're going to have to pay eBay more money for them listings as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been so attached to the listing goal. It's like I list 20, so it's like I do not hit that. I don't not hit that every single day, so like I have to. But if I was just purely sourcing from car boots, and then say for that week I could only get on average, say like 5 going up a day, rather than say like if a 10 was a listing goal. Now I would just list the 5. I'm more attached to the quality of the items, the sell through, rather than putting crap in the store and bringing the overall store down as well. That's not the way that I would go. So I would favor the quality over hitting the actual metrics, hitting the listing goal. So those items that hit the metrics, they will go in the store, and nothing else. But yeah, I mean, even still, like today, because of the deal that I have with a private source as well, I have to take a certain amount of items as well. So yeah, some of that doesn't necessarily hit the metrics, but to keep in with the contact, which is the bigger picture for me, that I will then put stuff that doesn't quite hit the metrics. But that's why, doing online and trying to source from other avenues as well, so that I then kind of do have the power when it comes to that relationship.
I think what's important on that as well, the term filler, I think you need to write like in your head what your filler is for your eBay store. As in, is filler for you an item that sells for $9.99 that you can pay for £1, but it's going to sell tomorrow morning? Is that filler? Or is filler something that's going to sit in your store longer than 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? Are you happy to have items in your store for 2 years? So I think the term filler is different for everyone. So I think you need to establish what in your head is filler. Is it price or is it sell-through?
Yeah, I think for me, filler is exactly what you just described it as there. The insanely fast sell through stuff that doesn't necessarily hit the metrics in terms of profit. So like the 1 into 10, you're taking, say you're taking like £6-7 at the end of it, something like that. To me, that's filler. That's like, say the dry fit, the standard dry fit XL and above, something like that. Something that I put at £8.99, £9.99, it's gone out the door within a week. To me, I see that as filler.
Yeah.
But moving on to gaming garms. So winter boot sales sellers are 80-90% traders, other resellers clearing slow moving stock or asking premium prices. Do you find that that's been, is that kind of an experience that you've seen when you went up to Scotland? Actually, no, that wasn't even a hard standing, but when you've been to those hard standing winter ones.
Yeah, so the one I've been to so far this season, because it was a new car boot sale, there was probably only one other reseller, what I could tell, selling there. It was a lot of general public because it's new, it's exciting, it's an opportunity. But I also don't mind the car boots where it's them other traders and stuff, especially when it comes to clothing. I know for gaming it might be slightly different. I'm guessing that's what you do. Well, gaming garms sounds like you might do both. But for clothing, I think the house clearance people are great. Good for contacts, good for connections, and also they've got no care for the clothing. So you can get some really good deals. So yeah, for me, that doesn't worry me too much. But yeah, definitely more traders in the winter than general public. Again, you've got to put yourself in their shoes. That's why. The traders are doing it as a full-time living. The general public are just doing it to clear some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, usually when I go to car boots, the first couple of rows, they're usually the traders, from what I can see anyway. And then from what I've heard as well, the midweek car boots, there's a lot more traders there. So obviously, because probably a lot more people are, say, at work, etc. But yeah, absolutely, that's an interesting one. But Dig Vintage, what's the most you've ever spent at a car boot sale? I mean, for me, it's probably...
Was yours Dunton? You spent quite a bit of Dunton.
Oh God, yeah, but I mean that's recent, and that was I actually found a contact there, so to get in with them and to get the contact details, everything like that, I just basically tried to blow their mind. So Dunton was about maybe like 900 grand, something like that. But
not 900 grand.
It was
a grand.
Yeah, one or the it was around about that. But before that, it was probably before I went kind of niched, it was probably around 350, 400, something like that.
Mine was, I remember mine because I kind of like to keep them track records. Mine was £435, and I had to borrow £35 off another reseller at the car boot. And that was when I brought the huge Nerf gun bundle. Because I'd already bought loads of stuff then. Yeah. I think I spent 270 with the Nerf gun guy on top of the other stuff. And I remember going to see Jamie Dodger and basically saying like, "Oh mate, you've got to spare like 30 odd quid on you just so I can borrow it to buy some more stuff." But that was it for me. And I came home and I was like, how have I spent so much in the field? It's crazy. But calculated risk.
The one where I spent kind of like around that amount as well, I actually ran out because I'd never take more than say like 350, 400 pounds.
Yeah.
But I asked them to transfer. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is so weird. I was like, can I please just transfer you it? Because I wanted it so bad. I can't.
It sounds so sketchy, doesn't it? In a field, like, oh yeah, that should be with you in the next couple of minutes. Like you're standing.
Yeah, stand there with PayPal. I was like, I've got to get this. So they went, yeah, go on then, go for it. And we got the deal done. But so that's also another thing as well. I just wanted to touch on because we didn't really touch on it, was getting people's details. Now, a lot of people, or some people, would say, create business cards or like leaflets or anything like that. Walk around, speak to them, hand them out. Hopefully they pass them on, remember you, etc. But I was never really about the business cards. I was never really about the leaflets. It was always, I had to get their details. I was always like, I need your number because I'm not going to wait for you to contact me. I was like, as soon as like I get back or as soon as it's been a little while, I'm contacting you straight away. So how do you feel about the whole business cards?
I'm glad we had this conversation privately the other month actually, and you stopped me because I was probably a couple of days away from ordering like 1,000 business cards for this reason, for when I go out sourcing to hand it over. And what you just said there for me is perfect. You get their details because the amount, so here's two sides of it. It's very easy for you to go to every store and say, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card. That's really easy. But for you to build up a conversation where you can actually say to them, let me take your details. And I know you're busy at the car boot, but let me give you a shout this afternoon. And you need to stick to your promise. So if you say to them, I'm going to call you this afternoon, you call them that afternoon. They need to see you're reliable. And that kind of thing can open up more doors as well. Because people, I think for me, when making connections, people want to, first of all, know your money's good. And you're not going to be the kind of person to mess them about. Secondly, you can facilitate the amount of stuff they've got for you. Thirdly, reliability. So if you say you're going to call them at 2 o'clock, you call them at 2 minutes to 2. You're on it because you don't want them to be like 2:30, 3 o'clock. Where's the call? Because straight away they think, oh, he's unreliable. He's going to say he's going to come and spend £1,000 on me next week and he won't turn up. So yeah, you changed my mind with that. So I've scrapped the business card idea for now, but I think I will order a small amount just to help build that connection. So once I've got their details, then I might hand them a card after that to kind of just establish that, this is a serious business.
100%. And Dig Vinci as well, just establishing relationships is so important. We have quite a few dealers who hold stock back for us. Yeah, and that's the point that's like the golden ticket. As soon as you get something like that, and I was going to touch on that as well, but it was actually a question that came in from Instagram, and I was just going to elaborate on that as well afterwards. But yeah, as soon as you get people holding stock back for you, and then when you're going around enough times as well, you're hitting the car boots weekly, you're there every single time at the crack of dawn, you're seeing the same people. They get to know you as that's the guy that buys football tops, like as an example from earlier, or that's the guy that buys Nerf guns. You get to be known as that guy. And then certain stuff that some people, like, they won't even tell you. I think you've had it before, probably from YouTube, where people have just held stuff back for you, and then they're like, oh, I know that you buy X, and then here's this. So when you get known as that person as well, it works in your favor.
Well, I'll share that story from the first time at Dirty Dunton, where a guy was selling there, didn't even tell me he was selling, and I approached his stall to ask about some clothing, and he was like, oh, James, I knew you were coming from your Instagram, and I've held some stuff back from you. And the guy gave me a big bag full of clothing, like decent stuff, and we agreed like a fair price and stuff. So I think sometimes be proud. Well, not sometimes, all the time. Be proud about what we do. I think there used to be a real taboo about reselling, like you need to keep it hush hush. I now, at my Saturday car boot sale, the people who work there all know me. The other resellers all know me. I chat with them all. I'm friendly with them all. They know what kind of stuff I look for. I know what stuff they look for. So if I see something, and I've done it the other day, I will shout one of them over and say, oh, look, there's Lego down there for you. Because he does Lego. That's all he does. Great. Happy days. Now, I know in the future, he won't forget that, and he'll owe me one. And the amount of people at the car boot have come up to me and said, oh, I brought you this. Like, how much you want? And I'm like, that's great. That's a great jacket. How much you want for it? No, it's my treat because you helped me out. So make friends with other resellers. It's not us versus them mentality. It doesn't have to be. Obviously, when you're at the boot sale, you're in competition with the other resellers in your niche, but you can still be friendly with them. So make friends with people. That's really important. Yeah. So that's all about a relationship building.
Yeah. Gentleman marketeer, Simon. So do you think it's possible to get someone to source for you, i.e. bring items to you? Seen this in the US, but not heard of it here. So I've thought about this. I think this was probably like maybe 6 months to a year ago. And I had this obsession with someone going to the car boot, or a team of people going to the car boot for you. Now, I don't know how easy or difficult that would be. I mean, you'd have to get the message across so well in terms of what you would actually tell the person going for you to be able to get. I don't know how you would structure that in terms of payments or anything like that. But in the US, a lot of people, some businesses, they have people that go to the Goodwill bins for them. So they have teams of people that go in there, just, get all the good stuff and then bring it back to wherever they're going. So, yeah. Have you ever thought about that? Someone actually going to a car boot for you, or teams of people going to different car boots, but knowing exactly what you buy, knowing exactly what you'd pay, but so that it's worth it for them as well. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, I do love the idea. I think it's great. And I thought about this a lot, especially with niching down, because I know so many resellers who say, oh, you've got no worries with me, James. I hate clothing. Never touch it, never touch it, never touch it. And I've always thought of saying to them, well, start touching it, and anything you pick up, I will pay you X amount for this, X amount for this, X amount for that. So make sure you get it under that and make yourself a bit of money for just picking it up, and kind of being that middle person where I might be in the same field as you, grab it and do a quick flip to me, double your money, everyone's happy. Difficult thing with that is, like, the relationship has to be so strong, because what you don't want to do is feel you have to pay them for some crap they've picked up that they don't know that doesn't sell. Or you turn around and say to them, well, no, when I said North Face, not that North Face jacket, it's this one. And they might spend a tenner on it thinking you're going to pay them 20 quid now, and they're left with a jacket that is worthless. And that can actually like ruin your relationship and friendship with people as well. So I think if I was to ever do it, it would have to be someone who's not a reseller, funnily enough, to kind of say to them, come with me to the car boot on a Saturday and Sunday, and these are the 10 brands I need you to go and hunt. And when you hunt them down, you message me, you tell me where we are, I'll come and look and we'll buy it. And for every one you find, I will pay you a finder's fee of X amount. And kind of have a hunter in the field with me. So I would love 3 or 4 people in the field going different rows to me, and then kind of saying, James, aisle 3, halfway down, I've got this, blah, blah, blah jacket. And I'm like, yeah, go for it. 5 quid on that. Okay, great. That's a great jacket. That's going to make me 60 quid. So I'm going to give you a tenner for that one. Well done. And pay a commission based on their finding. But again, that just takes someone with super knowledge. So you kind of need like a clothing whiz who has no interest in reselling, who just wants to go and earn a little bit of quick money. It's tough. It's a great idea.
Because I just think about the nuances. It's like, say you just said they're North Face, but it's like, what defects would you accept? Or, let's go for instance, like I don't want to see North Face fleeces. I only want North Face thermables. I only want North Face Supreme. I only want North Face Goose Down, Duck Down. I only want North Face Gore-Tex. But if it's, I don't want this, but if it's got this aspect to it, I do want it. It's like it's
so many. There's so many things.
There's so many different nuances, and that's the thing as well. That's the thing that I would find hard to relay to someone. But say something like Patagonia, for instance. Like I almost accept all Patagonia. So if for a certain amount, even with defects. So that's relaying the message.
Yeah, you're right with saying that. I mean, look at the other month when I picked up that, I got a North Face 700 jacket for a £5 because it had paint on it. Now, I was going to list it with paint, and I was told by someone it might be emulsion, just try and scratch it off. And it did. It came off. It's perfect. Now, if I would say to someone, I'm looking for North Face, and then they was to message me or text me or whatever and say, oh, it's got paint on, I might say pass because it's got a flaw. But when you can expect yourself, you're right, there's so many nuances to it. It's really tough, but I think it's a great way you can build that team in the future. It's a great way to source. You could be sitting in bed and literally next thing, someone rocks up with 40 items. They've been in the cold field, and you say, how much you pay for that? Well, I spent 60 quid. Okay, well, here's 100 quid for you because you're going to make 1,000 or whatever it may be. Yeah, it's a great idea. It's just something you need to really dig deep and explore. It's going to take time.
Yeah. I just want to whiz through some of the Instagram questions as well. So just getting through them as quickly as possible, but obviously giving you guys the best answer we possibly give. So Tommy Trey's 96 as well. He's always in. Do you set a budget for a car boot trip? So I think we touched on this kind of near the start where budget in terms of like what I used to bring, say like, 300-400 budget in terms of items. I wouldn't spend no more than £3. So
yeah. I'm the same. No set budget. If I spend all £300 I have in my wallet, I'm happy as long as I've got good stuff and not just buying for the sake of it. So I'd rather go to every car boot and come home empty hand, like no money in the wallet. No, I've got some good stuff.
Yeah, and then CJ Beats _ as well. What's your average cost price per item? So pretty similar as well. Now it would be completely different. So it'd be an average of like the overall. But yeah, just depending on what the item would sell for and if it would hit my metrics. So it would vary, to be honest with that.
I can tell you mine at the moment. Most of mine's online. My average cost of goods at the moment is £5 and 5 pence. Well, £5 6 pence.
That's good. And then yesterday vibes Clobber. Was your source made at car boot an obvious house clearance / business or member of the public? So I wanted a lot longer to touch on this, but we've got kind of like less than a minute. So yeah, in terms of like going and making contacts at car boots, what I did and what I aimed for from the start was just to speak to everyone and anyone. When I was going around, as we were saying earlier, getting contact details, just being super friendly, and then people getting to know exactly what my niche is and what I buy. In terms of the contact that I made, it was actually people that they basically got deals with charity shops, and then I got in with them, spending X amount, not haggling with price at all with them to try and get in with them. So they was very fair with the pricing, but I would buy, between like 50 and 75 items, and then I would go back, keep buying, and then I would just want to get closer to the source. So yeah, I would then do deals outside of the car boot. But the real kind of like point of this is to speak to everyone and anyone, and then you will find someone who has a link, and you will find someone who does it as a business rather than just someone selling out of their house.
Yeah. And the thing is, you've got to remember as well, that one contact, if you're good to them, you treat them well, you're good with your money, they might refer you to 4, 5, 6, 7 other contacts as well. So
yeah. And then just to round it up, reseller Georgie, we love seeing him in. Likes are free, guys, so make sure you push that. But
this is great. You're having to do the typical YouTube things, like and subscribe. Please like the video on your way out. Subscribe. It really helps the algorithm. But jokes aside, please go and subscribe and like the video if you like the chat. Leave us any questions you want as well in the comment section. Anything we haven't been able to cover, any more questions you have about car boots, we'll make sure that we go in and answer all of your questions as well. So yeah, any question you do have. And I just want to quickly touch on Simon's question at the bottom, using the spreadsheet, James. Yes, I am. I'm now tracking my numbers. So I'm actually getting used to exactly what I'm loading into the store every day. And most importantly for me, that cost of goods is huge, especially as I'm doing a lot more online sourcing. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think looking at your numbers and stuff like that, we'll be touching on everything. So pretty much all the aspects of the reselling business, we'll try and touch on, and then obviously continue with our sourcing series next week, mate. But
Amazing.
Appreciate your time, and appreciate all you guys coming in, commenting, anything like that. Yeah, if it's strictly on, there's some that I haven't been able to get to, but when it's strictly kind of like on topic and things like that, 100% we'll discuss them. But yeah, appreciate you guys once again, and yeah, appreciate you, mate.
We got an outro yet or not?
We ain't got an outro.
All right. Love you all. Peace.
Peace. All right.